Hello and welcome back to the She Lives Purposely podcast. Okay, today things are going to get a little bit spicy.
Oh man.
And although it's spicy, I think it's important. And honestly, this is something that I have been wanting to talk about for years, year after year. By the title, you already are going to know what we're kind of talking about. So I'm going to say I am such a political girl. I love politics. I have since early college. I am all for it. I get so invested. What's it called? Voting season, election season feels like Christmas. Like it's just so like I love it. I love it. I love it. And I have restrained, I feel like pretty well about talking about it when it comes to She Lives Purposely.
I would say.
But today we are going to be talking about politics. But we're not, don't worry, like if you're listening and you're like, ugh, annoyed. We're not going to get too political in the sense of like telling you straight up who to vote for or anything like that. But we are going to get pretty honest about issues that we think are important, why we believe Christians, that it is good for Christians to vote, different things like that.
Yeah.
I have my husband here with me
Hey.
talking about all these things. We have this shared appreciation for politics and all things along those lines. So I'm really thankful for that because again, it's one of my favorite topics. So thanks for being here.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be a good one. I'm excited. I'm a little nervous because I know it is a polarizing topic.
Yes, Mike.
Everyone
follows.
has very strong opinions about it. Everyone does. So
I've already shared a little bit on Instagrams, just some different things, just like literally one repost of something that I thought was like a no-brainer, and got some people who were upset about it. So I feel like that might happen today, but I do think like we should be able to, like I follow people that I don't agree with whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I like appreciate them in other ways or whatever it is. Like I think we should be able to have different opinions, vocalize those opinions.
Yeah. And we would love to hear from you too.
Yeah.
On some of the things we talk about, what you agreed with, what you disagreed with. It's the beauty of living in America. We could talk about these things. So yeah.
Yeah.
With that being said, Meg and myself are fully endorsing.
Just kidding.
Just kidding. You think we would do that?
We're not going to do
You
that.
think we would do that?
No, we're not going to do
No.
that.
Yeah. We're not going to endorse anybody. We're going to talk about some issues that we think are important to us.
Yeah.
But again, we know this is a polarizing topic and a lot of people have different views on it, but we kind of want to come at it from a Christian perspective. If you see me waving around this notebook, it's just because I have a bunch of things written out that I want to touch on.
Yeah. And I will say too, if you are over the political conversation,
Right.
but you still want to listen to this episode or just like, I don't know, get your fix of She Lives Purposely every single week, we are doing a Dear Meg segment at the end of this episode where we are talking about whether Christians should celebrate certain holidays like Halloween, which is coming up right after this episode airs, basically. So yeah, that'll be a spicy one too, but it'll be more fun. I feel like lighthearted and
Yeah.
so you can skip along to that. I should have it like in the show notes queued of what minute that airs. So
Yeah, that is a good point. It is. I bet there's a lot of people out there that are just sick of it. Like,
Yeah.
I want this to be done, to be over. It's just, you can't watch a YouTube video, a cooking YouTube video without an ad. It's all over probably social media and things like that. So
Yeah.
I'm sure for some people they're just done. But so yeah, anyway, skip ahead.
But we do want to talk about it, even though, maybe it's overstated. I feel like personally, this is going to sound so silly, but like from a certain perspective, it's not vocalized enough. Like there are so many people that I think like
Politics, you mean?
politics in the sense of, I feel like just what I'm about to say is going to be so telling. I feel like there's a lot of people who are very vocal and there's another side that is very quiet and very hidden.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's really important to speak up on that side of things. I think sometimes Christians a lot of times are very quiet about what they think. And I think it's important to be vocal about that.
I think that goes
About anything.
with Christians.
Not
I think
just politics.
Yeah, not just politics. I think Christians are often very quiet with their beliefs. I think we all have probably fallen into that because they're countercultural beliefs. Like Jesus was countercultural. And so, and he said they're going to hate you, for believing in me. and loving me and following me. So I think that goes just outside of politics too.
I agree. I agree.
So,
yeah.
but politics matter. Go ahead.
No, you say
no, I don't want to
say
take
it.
away your.
Okay, so this quote is
thing.
from a podcaster that I love. Her name is Allie B. Stuckey, and she says politics matter because policies matter because people matter. And I think that's a huge part of what we're talking about today. Why we're talking about what we're talking about.
Politics in general.
Yeah.
Because it matters. Because it impacts people's lives.
You and me.
Yeah, and you know, as Christians, we're supposed to love people, image bearers, and care about people. And so this is a way that we can do that. And, you know, it's not up there with working at a charity or, you know, cooking a meal for your neighbor or something like that. Or, but it, you know, like Meg said, Ali B. Stuckey said, these things do have downstream effects into our lives. So, yeah. And I know, and I think Christians should be involved. I saw this headline that said, about 32 million Christians, I think it was Christians, are going to sit out the election.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. Because I guess they don't like either candidate or something like that, which I get. Like, I think, you know, I think a lot of people look at the personalities on the ticket and they say, no way, count me out. If this is the decision.
Hard pass.
Hard pass. Like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
Which I get. Like, I can definitely see that temptation just to kind of check out. But I think I was thinking about this. Like, if you're a first century Christian, like, you know, a couple decades in after Jesus died and rose, and you're getting persecuted, and you're meeting in basements, and you are, you know, having Bible studies in the dark. Mm-hmm. If you're doing that little fish symbol to see who's a Christian or whatever, like, they would have jumped at the chance to vote the things, if they had the chance to vote those things into law. Now, I'm not saying, you know, as Christians, we're being rounded up or, like, you know, in America, we openly go to church on Sundays and, like, we have all those freedoms, which is amazing.
Praise the Lord. Yeah.
Praise the Lord. But I think, you know, there's Christian values, Christian things that we hold dear that are being eroded in the culture in the U.S. And I think, you know, so not to say, like, you know, vote because you're being persecuted or anything like that. But I do think we have this amazing opportunity that other Christians in other centuries would have just loved or been all about, to be able to vote the things that they want into law and policy. So, yeah, if you're one of those 32 million, we hear you.
We get it.
We hear you.
We really
it's
do.
a crazy time. Mm-hmm. But also, too, I think I'd encourage you to go out and vote.
Yeah, because it is such a unique opportunity, like you said, for you to vocalize and try to enact your values and what you want to happen.
Right.
And I think that comes to a big point that we really emphasize is really, as much as, yes, we can see the people maybe on the ticket and maybe you're really for one, maybe you hate both of them. Like, I don't know, you know, where you're at. But it's not necessarily just about those people. It's about the policies that are going to be enacted with them being in office. And so being able to really, like, vote for things that you want to happen is so powerful.
Yeah, right. And I think, too, another, like, totally everything you're saying. And I think just going back to the personalities of the people on the ticket, like, I think that's what people think they're voting for, when really it's the policies behind those personalities. Because I think a lot of Christians, I should say, I think a lot of Christians, every election cycle, hold their nose voting for someone.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but I think a lot of them who are like, you know, lesser of two evils sort of thing. And they hold their nose and vote. And I think maybe they're afraid if they say who they voted for, that people will assign, oh, you are supportive of this person, what you can, yeah, go ahead.
I'll jump on that on both sides. Like, I do know people who have voted for like both different sides who are like, I don't want my community to know like who I
Like
just
Trump,
voted
Kamala?
for. Yeah, well, and in the
Or
past,
past.
like Hillary or Joe and Trump and Trump.
Yeah.
Both times. Like on both sides of people like, I don't want my community to know who I voted for.
Are these Christians who are saying this?
Yeah,
Or yeah. Yeah. Right. Because then they assign, oh, then you're supportive of XYZ because this person did XYZ or something like that. So, yeah. But I think most of the time you're looking at policies because, yeah. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say on that.
I think it just is another, too, just talking about like living purposefully and she lives purposefully. It is another way to live purposefully is to be able to stand up and say like, okay, this is what I believe. And like, I'm actually going to put my vote where my mouth is and like where my values are. And try to make a change in the culture and in the policies around me. And, you know, we live in a government where maybe like what we want, of course, is not always what's enacted. And that's just the way it is. But like we have an opportunity to attempt to do what we feel like is right and support policies that we feel like are biblical. And I think that's what it comes to with voting as well. And I was watching this video by Tara Sun. She's been on the podcast before too. And she was just talking about the importance of voting biblically. And I think that's really on our hearts too, is like voting in a way that you think lines up with scripture, voting in a way that you think the Lord would want you to vote in a sense, you know, and what that looks like. So we'll talk about too, a little bit of what that looks like for us. But yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah, that is. Oh man, I wanted to say something else about what you were just talking about, and I'm totally
voting
blanking.
Biblically.
Voting blinkingly. I got not a lot. I got a couple of people who said I looked tired on the last episode that I was on, and looking back, I was like rubbing my eyes the whole time.
If you didn't watch the YouTube, you should go back and watch the YouTube of that video.
So if I'm stumbling over my words, we're still sleep deprived.
Yes, yeah.
Not much has changed there, but
I do think, our baby boy, I think, is going through a sleep regression, /teething.
He's got a little tooth coming in, guys.
Yeah, so crazy. At 3 months, such a little thing.
I know.
But here we are.
Time's flying.
He's getting so big.
Speaking of, he's kind of influenced our politics a bit.
Yeah. I will say, I was already leaning in the direction like having him, but like it just enhances my opinions.
Yeah. Do we want to jump into that? I forget what I was going to say, so might as well.
Let's do it. Like, what are some of the policies, specifically moral? Like, we could talk about a plethora of things, economics, policy, all of it.
This is not a political podcast, so we're not going to dissect every issue.
We're going to stick to a couple moral issues that
every
are
side
impacted
of it
by policies.
Yes.
Take it away.
You're like, what? You're sending me out to...
No. We have the same opinion, so...
So, I think the first one is abortion. Abortion has been I don't know if it's probably a big topic every election season. I feel like especially this one because there's a woman on the ticket and Kamala's kind of made that her stance, I would say. Yeah,
and I think too, because this is the first time in a long time when like Roe v. Wade was overruled. And so it's kind of back on the issue, like the ballot as an issue.
So the Supreme Court knocked Roe v. or I guess the legalization of abortion from the federal government down to the state government for them to decide. So it's become a state by state issue. So that's another reason is it's kind of like that's the future of abortion in the country is kind of, going to be determined probably with this next election.
Yeah. And we've had episodes on it before, but if you didn't know, we are very pro-life. And so that's a big issue for us. And two, I do think it's important to say that neither candidate is really pro-life. So I don't want to attribute that to either one.
I think personally, their stance.
Personally, their own personal stance. But right now, the decision is up to the states. And I think that it does save a lot of babies' lives that it stays that way.
Rather than being a federal policy.
Rather than it being a federal policy that you can have an abortion. And that does mean too that in some states maybe like you can have an abortion up to like full term, or however, even beyond in some places, which is crazy.
Yeah, I think I've heard there's been a couple of those cases.
Yeah.
But I will say with little Donnie, so just kind of seeing the ultrasounds, I will say, has been just mind blowing. And I've heard this from other, new parents who've kind of gone through this process. How there was a specific ultrasound, I think it was the first one, where we went in,
Yeah, this is crazy.
and he was just a tiny little thing. And I said out loud, I was like, "Can he hear us?" Or like,
Yeah.
like,
No, I think you said, "Does he move yet?" or something.
does he move yet? Okay, maybe that was it. And right after I said that, he gave this huge kick,
For the first time, and we had been looking at the ultrasound for a bit. Like,
yeah. We were in there for a bit, and he gave this huge kick, and it was like, oh my gosh, and we're like, he heard us or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of it was very powerful. It was a very powerful moment to see that little life in there, and I was like, can you feel this? Can you feel this? Meanwhile, he's probably like.
I think he was less than a line. I think it was our 11 or 12-week ultrasound.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, I think that going through that process has been really, you just have firsthand experience with it. Like, of course, we were pro-life before, but kind of seeing your own baby develop in mama, it's like, of course. Yeah, is there anything else you wanted to add on that?
No, I think that's totally it. It just feels like too, like going through pregnancy and going through the apps and seeing like every week the different like jumps that this little baby is making inside of you. It just makes you realize how miraculous it really is. And it's like, oh my goodness, to me, it's so clear. Like, this is the Lord forming this life. And then you put scripture into that, like before, like, when you were in your mother's womb, I knew you, and like all these things. And, I had all the days of your life laid out, and I knew you by name, and just all of this. And it's so powerful to know, like, the Lord knew our son, like when he was in the womb, and he knew who he was going to create him to be, and like what his name was going to be, and all the days of his life. So all that to say, we're very pro-life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And another issue is also kind of related.
I was going to say, that's what I mean. He's kind of influenced.
Yeah.
How we, like you said, influenced or emphasized.
Yeah.
How we're already thinking about these issues. I'll let you take this one.
Okay. I wrote it down. I feel like the verbiage that I wanted to say. Okay, so there is the issue of quote unquote gender affirming care in minors, in children, and also just the conversation about who is allowed in what bathroom, boy, girl, all of that. And specifically when it comes to minors, which are children. And there are just a lot of changes in potential policies that could come into play, things that are being allowed in certain states that would align up with certain administrations, where it really seems like, okay, kids would be allowed to, and this isn't just theoretical, like these are real stories. I posted about this and somebody told me to educate myself, and it just is like, I get it, because I hate when I see things that people post and I'm like, you didn't do your research. So I get being frustrated by that, but I did do my research.
What was the thing you posted? You should talk about it.
So a friend of mine had received a like voting promotional text for a certain campaign.
What was the content of it? Like, what was the issue at hand?
The content was that this administration rather, was, let me see if I can actually pull it up, because I don't want to get this wrong and the verbiage wrong. Here.
While you talk about that, I think I was looking at some of the numbers. Like, well, I'll just say this. There was a point where I was like, you know what? I kind of felt like one of those 32 million Christian voters. And I was like, you know what? Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Jesus is still Lord. Like, I'll still live my life. I'll still have my job. I'll still, all these different things. Like, there was a moment where I felt like during this crazy election cycle, I was like, all right, whatever. It doesn't really matter. And then I was thinking of little Donny and how he's going to be 4 years old when this current president leaves office. And that kind of blew my mind, because he's 3 months now. And you don't really think of, like, I don't know, politics, the world, policies really impacting him. But with this topic, at 4 years old, there will be some influence. Like if, if this ideology becomes more dominant in the culture, and then
and approved of policy,
and improved as policy, and then little Donny's, someone at his daycare or something like mentions, oh, actually, this little boy says he's a girl, like, which is so crazy, it's a really wild thing that we're kind of talking about this for minors. I mean, it's one thing for adults, but especially for kids, because they're so precious, they're so vulnerable, and we're charged with protecting them in all these different ways. So anyway, that kind of snapped me back to reality in terms of, no, this does matter. People's lives will be impacted. Politics matters. So anyway, just wanted to throw that story out there.
Yeah. So this was the text. So this was the text, and it's talking about a certain administration will ensure that minors can access the care they need, talking about LGBTQIA youth. And okay. This administration believes LGBTQIA youth deserve access to gender-affirming care and safe, inclusive schools in this certain city that my friend lives in.
I think because you've already posted it, I feel like
Okay. Kamala Harris believes LGBTQIA youth deserve access to gender-affirming care and safe, inclusive schools in this city. Kamala will ensure minors can access the care they need without fear of parental intervention or discrimination. And that just got me so much. And I will say, because we did notice this, the website that was sent with this text did not come from like Kamala HQ. Like this was, it's probably like a super PAC or, something like that where it's like putting out this promo. But if you really do your research and just jump into it and you look at the policies of people that are aligned with this administration that are being enacted in other states, there's really such a slippery slope from a child who thinks that they are another gender. And we're talking kid, like under 10 years old, feeling a certain way, their parent not thinking that, their parent then being called abusive, and then this kid's rights are being taken away. Or the parents' rights are being taken away to have the right to their child because of this. And this isn't just theory. Like there are stories of this actually happening in the United States already.
Yeah.
And
I think there was a case in Maryland. I know this is happening more in Canada too. Which is scary because it's like right next door.
So this isn't just like fear mongering. This isn't conspiracy. And I know people love to like work it up to that, but it's not that. And so it really is such an important issue. And it's something, especially having our own kid, that we're like, no, this is not going to fly. This is not going to fly with us. And so I forget where else I was going to go with that, but
just the transgender issue, right? Like talking about how our little Donny is influenced, or kind of solidifying some beliefs we have already more so.
100%. So it is just, what else I was going to say was, oh my gosh, mom brain. First it was baby brain, now it's mom brain. I don't know. So anyway, along those lines, that's another really big issue for us as well.
Yeah.
Both that we believe are moral issues and even biblical ones, because one, we are charged with the care of this little boy, and two, like being pro-life, and also like, really believing that like, one, this little kid like is made how God made him to be, and also that he is so little and wouldn't be able to try to change that as a kid. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's just so crazy to me.
It is it's so wild. And I think we're going to look back on this time period and
you hope, right?
You hope like when we're grandparents, the world will be like, wow, that was a crazy time when we were letting kids decide what gender they were.
Because too, in Europe, they were going in this direction and now they're backtracking in this direction. And this applies to like, we're not just talking about surgeries, like whether it's counseling, whatever it is, hormone therapy, like these are changes that minors are making to their body. And that's a really big deal. And two, going back to that text, without the fear of parental intervention just makes it so creepy. And I post this on my story too, where it's like, hey kids, like don't tell your parents. No.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Kind of like a white van, like pulling up and like.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
it's just like not okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's a crazy, it is a really yeah, it's crazy that we're even having this discussion about it.
So I feel like those are
yeah,
a couple really big problems.
And I think you guys we might get some blowback from people being like, oh, you didn't cover this or they didn't cover that. But again, we kind of just wanted to lay out two things that kind of top of mind for us as we're going into it. But again, we'd love to hear from you. Like what's top of mind for you going into this? What are you thinking most about in terms of the issues? Yeah. So again, yeah.
Yeah, and I do want to quickly say too, kind of before we jump into the Dear Meg segment, but that I do understand also when Christians so closely, we were talking about this before, this is something we both really think is important, so closely associate with a specific candidate or a specific party and almost, align the two as like, if you're a Christian, you will vote this way, or like, if you voted this way, you're not a Christian kind of thing. And even more so, even talking about different policies and bringing that into the church is almost like a salvation issue or like a moral issue, when some of the things are not moral issues. A lot of the things are not moral issues.
Yeah.
So we don't want this to be that either. We have friends
all over the political spectrum.
All over. And so this isn't supposed to be that. What this is supposed to be is where we're coming from, where we stand, what we believe is important. And I'm not going to backtrack on that either. We do think, this is a biblical way of like voting and stuff like that.
So you're kind of talking about like when different sermons or pastors talk about issues that may not be like clear cut Christian moral issues, like abortion or transgenderism or things like that, where they bring other policies or they talk about other policies almost as if like this policy is anti or this, like it has the same weight. Yeah. And I think that turns off a lot of people. I know like it would, if I, that.
I think it's good to say.
Yeah. There's certain, I went to a very liberal university, and if I brought one of those people to church, I would not want them to hear about how climate change, if you believe in climate change, you're not a Christian or something. You know what I mean? I'm just throwing out an example. But I would want them to hear about, Jesus being Lord, being the Savior of the world, paying for our sins, new life, all those joy, peace, like all those different things. Because, it's not like climate change is a salvation issue.
Yeah.
So I think we want to, throw that out there too, in terms of, I think a lot of people are cynical because a lot of these things, a lot of politics have gotten tied up in the church. And I don't know if they really have a place there, in terms of some of these other non-moral issues we're talking about. So
yeah. So
hopefully I worded that right.
No, I think that makes sense. And that's something we don't want this episode to be is, all of a sudden we're like, saying like associating the two things, and also either being like, okay, like this person has to get into office or like everything is going to crumble, and, looking at either candidate like they are Jesus coming in on a white horse, which I do think is very prominent. I see it all over social media where there are people who are like, he is our hope. And it's like, no, Jesus is our hope.
He being Trump here.
Yes. Oh yeah. Specifically Trump, where it's like this person and like, all of that. And it's like, no, Trump is not our hope. Jesus is our hope. And like Kamala is not our hope. Jesus is our hope.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important too, but it is still important to vote.
Again, we're treading into uncharted territory here. So
yeah.
I guess if there was something, we just want to make sure that we're expressing how we feel about this, maybe how we think Christians should feel about this. But again, we want to hear from you.
Yeah. And if you disagree with us, like we love you and respect you. You know what I mean? Like it's not like that in any contentious way. But I do think it's important to be able to vocalize where we come from.
Yep. And we took a swing at it. And
hopefully it's not a swing and a miss.
Hopefully it's not a swing and a miss.
Right,
let us know.
Let's dive into the Dear Meg segment for today. I'm going to read this question here. Somebody wrote in, and I thought it was a great question. We have a very limited amount of time. Thankfully, so thankful. My parents are here watching our baby boy, but they have to go shortly. So this episode, we are wrapping it up. Yeah, seriously. Thank goodness. Thank God for parents. Why can I not find this question? Okay.
It was Halloween themed, you're saying?
Yeah.
Another very controversial take.
I feel like this is a controversial,
Whew, man.
like spicy. This is a spicy episode, y'all. All right, dear Meg, hi. Should Christians? Oh, I don't know if you can hear him crying.
Our little baby's crying. All right, we're gonna take a break and get back.
Okay.
We're back.
Baby boy is okay.
Yep.
He just woke up from his nap.
Yes.
All right, dear Meg. Should or shouldn't Christians celebrate holidays like Halloween or Valentine's Day, for example?
Oh.
So this is a spicy conversation.
Wow.
No, I think where this person is coming from, one, Halloween I think is such a big question. I think a lot of Christians struggle with this one.
Yeah.
And I think other holidays, it's kind of this idea of like we're celebrating pagan holidays, kind of like, or just
like Valentine's?
yeah. Even I think sometimes Christians
think
are
it's
we
like-
shouldn't celebrate Christmas because.
Oh, it's too commercialized and things like that?
Or it's like not the real Christmas. I don't know.
Oh, like Jesus was born on another day?
Right.
Oh.
Right. So it's like a pagan. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Okay. So
We haven't talked about this. I actually don't know what you're going to say.
I don't know what I'm
Which
gonna
is
say.
funny because we have Halloween coming up
I don't
in
know
a
what
week.
I'm going to say either. I think regarding other holidays, I'm for it. I love Valentine's Day. So
yeah.
cute.
Well,
I love Valentine's Day. I'm all for it.
Saint Valentine. I think he is recognized as a saint in the Catholic Church. Yeah. So in terms of pagan, I don't think it has pagan roots.
Yeah, I'm for it all.
Yeah.
Halloween.
Well, why are you for Valentine's Day over Halloween? If that's the direction you're going.
Oh, just because Halloween I think is like fear-based, witch, spirit, ghost-based.
And Valentine's is love.
It's like love and just different things.
Okay.
So I'm for really. I'm not going to blanket statement this because what if there's a weird holiday I don't know about? But like other basic holidays, I'm like for celebrating. Halloween, I honestly have struggled with. I've gone back and forth for a long time. My general thought is if you celebrate Halloween, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I think there's great ways to like actually, let me clarify. I don't know if I'm for celebrating. I understand participating in the holiday. I think that distinction can be kind of important.
Wow.
Because I am very like, when it comes to the spirit world, like
gosh. It's real.
Be careful.
It's real.
And there have been things on Halloween that I experienced that I was like, this is a spiritual thing. Yes.
You have to say it now.
Yeah, I guess I do. It was when I lived in Bible college, when I went to Bible college in California, and we were just out and about. And I remember like trick-or-treating ended at like 9:00 specifically. And the clock literally struck 9:00 and we were just out. And like people just came out of the woodwork and it was like really insane.
What do you mean people came out?
Like crawling up to us. No, I'm not even kidding.
On all fours?
On all fours, like rubbing like their head against one of my friend's legs. Like, it was just like such a weird, and it was just very like, and this was
Were they in costume?
This was like beyond like, this isn't just like drunk or like,
Wait, was this like, this wasn't on the Bible college campus?
No.
This
we
is
were
in
just
the
like out.
community around it?
Yes, yeah. And I just
were they in
feeling
costume?
like, I honestly don't remember.
It was probably dark.
But they were like adult.
Oh.
So I just remember feeling, and
That's
again,
weird.
this is beyond like they were drunk at a party or something like it just felt like very eerie, and so
I would say so.
So that to me, like, it always stuck with me. But I do understand that like there's the costumes and the candy and the fun of it all also. So I think that you really can participate in it. I just think it's important. Like, I feel like celebrating it just sounds kind of funny to me because it is surrounding like ghosts and stuff.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's people who can be like, well, if you are participating, you are kind of celebrating. But I think I know what you mean, like celebrating like the darkness or like kind of loving the, leaning into the eerie side of that.
Versus like getting dressed up in like, I don't know, a pop star outfit.
Or
like I did when I was little.
Oh, what pop star?
It just was like I was the pop star. Because I'm the pop star.
You are a star in my life.
Yes.
So you're a pop star to me every day.
I also was Batman one year.
Love it.
Tomboy.
Love it. I was Zorro every year. I was Zorro up until college. And and by college I had like long hair, so it really fit. But I'll still be Zorro. Like if I had to go out and choose a costume today, I think I would be Zorro.
I think it's a good fit.
So all to say, we celebrated as kids. We dressed up as kids, went around, got candy.
Now, I will say, at least in our family, like sometimes it was trick-or-treating. I honestly don't remember it that much. A lot of times it was like trunk-or-treating at a church.
Oh.
That was a big one.
Okay. So I went around the neighborhood with
I think I did too,
my sister and my family, and
then I did
trick-or-treated.
with friends too.
Yeah.
So I'm obviously not against it. We are thinking about getting a little Donny a little like pumpkin outfit this year. Like who knows? We bought candy for the neighborhood, kids. We're also thinking about playing worship music so that like when people come up to our house, there's worship music playing. I think that there's ways that you can participate in the holiday and it'd be fun.
It'd be lighthearted, fun, not really, celebrating the darkness. I think that's what you're getting at. Celebrating the darkness, celebrating evil things. Like demonic evil things.
But I will say, if you feel convicted about it and you're like, no, I can't, then I do believe it's actually wrong for you. I think that's biblical too.
I think that's a good point.
And there have even been points in my life where I remember talking with Julia, who was on the podcast too before, and we're like,
Julia,
every year we're just going to take our families on a vacation and we're not going to celebrate it, but so they don't feel like they're missing out, we'll take them somewhere, like, and just, so I feel like there is that aspect of it too, where I think for me, I'm even torn a little bit, but I think being able to participate and not celebrate settles it for me. But I think if it convicts you, then you shouldn't. And I don't think that's wrong. I think I understand
I think that last point is great because there's that whole verse. Oh, I'm blanking where it's at now. I think it's in the Corinthians where Paul's like, if you stumble eating meat that was sacrificed to idols, don't eat it. If you know someone in your company is going to stumble seeing you eat it, then you shouldn't eat it. So I think that's important to keep in mind in this situation. Like Christians are going to have different opinions on Halloween. And I think keeping in mind there's different things that stumble different people is important.
I fully agree.
So just, I think all that being said, I think we're going to get little Donny a little
costume.
I was thinking a little pumpkin costume.
Cute.
We need to order it soon though.
Yeah, because Halloween is
I think it's a week away. Yeah.
Oh yeah, a week.
So anyway, yeah, that's our take.
That's our take on celebrating Halloween. And
Halloween, politics, the two most controversial issues in the church today.
I mean, honestly, I feel like. I hope it was encouraging. I hope we don't get totally
eviscerated,
canceled, unfollowed, all the things.
It's all in love,
for
guys.
Both of those topics. But yeah, I hope it was an encouragement to you. I hope it was helpful in any way, shape, or form. Friends, thank you for listening to the She Lives Purposely podcast. You are so awesome. I'm so thankful for you. Love you so much. Live purposefully and live for Jesus. See you later.
Bye.